Welcome to Hanging at the Hangar Bar. I'm Scott.
I'm Candace.
I'm Lariah.
And I'm Lacey. Grab a drink and come hang with us at the Hangar Bar. Hey everyone, welcome back to Hanging at the Hangar Bar. We're so glad you're here today. Before we get started, just wanted to remind you all to go check out our socials on Facebook and on Instagram.
And Reddit. I still only have like 2 followers there.
Yeah, don't forget about Reddit. Make Scott happy. He works hard on that. But yeah, come say hi to us. And we're always wanting show suggestions, all of that stuff. So come over, say hi, be friends with us over there. And let's get into this episode. This week, we thought it would be fun to talk about Villain's Land in Magic Kingdom in Walt Disney World. We've heard talk about it. It's floating around the internet, called Beyond Thunder Mountain.
Yeah, they actually announced it at D23 last year.
Okay.
As a Blue Sky project.
Okay. Exciting stuff. We are big Villains fans. We love the villains. And we just thought it would be fun to talk about what kind of villains we want to see there. What do we think, like restaurants-wise, any food, beverages, rides, all of that fun stuff. Who do we want to see? Do we have any ideas? Let's pretend we're Imagineers because I think we're really good at it. We recently did a whole reimagining episode, 3 episodes ago?
Something like that.
2 or 3.
Yeah. So go check that one out if this is like your thing. If you like coming up with, fun ideas for the parks, all of that stuff. We really do. So yeah, I'm excited for this.
And just a caveat or a disclaimer. We have no idea if any of this is actual plan or not. So don't hold us to anything. This is just what we would like to see.
Mm-hmm.
So Candace, start off, you mentioned Blue Sky Project. Why don't you explain to everyone what a Blue Sky idea is?
So a Blue Sky project is something that's basically just on the drawing board. They don't have a lot of really solid ideas for it, other than they have thought about it enough to get something on like a storyboard or concept art sort of developed for it. But as far as actual decided on plans, there's nothing.
They've not sunk any money into it. They've
that we
not
know of.
Right. The Blue Sky piece of it is just, it's all exploratory.
Right.
Is this possible? I think if it gets rolled out at D23, some of it is our audience going to react well to the idea? And do we want to do that?
Right.
Okay. So, Lacey mentioned that at D23, they announced Beyond Big Thunder.
Mm-hmm.
If I remember correctly, they talked about it not only encompassing villains, like a Villain's Land, but it would also bring potentially Moana and Encanto in as well. So I think that would be the gateway back into Villain's Land, is through either Moana or Encanto.
And I could be 100% wrong, but I don't think they're taking Moana to Magic Kingdom.
Because they did it in
Just because
Epcot.
they already have Epcot, and that's Blue Sky for...
It says Coco here.
Yeah.
Coco, that's right.
Animal Kingdom.
Yes, yes. Which I feel like Moana would fit in really well with
Animal Kingdom?
Animal Kingdom, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I probably got that wrong. It was Coco.
Coco and Encanto.
Yeah.
Which, yes, to both.
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine the gateway into Villain's Land being through the Land of the Dead?
Yes.
The Marigold Bridge and the whole...
That would be
amazing.
Awesome. Yeah.
And leave it up to the Imagineers to figure out how to do a true Marigold Bridge that you could
Where
walk
it's
on.
looking like it's falling off the side like it does in the movie.
Oh, imagine that at night.
Mm-hmm.
It glows.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, if honestly at this point, if they can do Pandora and make those rocks look floating, they could do
They
a
can do
Marigold
anything.
Bridge. Yeah. Uh-huh.
It's kind of fun to do the impossible. Thank you, Walt.
Love that. Okay, so since it's going to be a land, not a park, I still feel like there might be a little tiny park weenie in there for it. You know, we need some sort of castle or anything. I know what Candace is thinking. I think we all know what Candace is thinking. And I like it. So I'm going to go ahead and guess that you're thinking Maleficent's castle.
Yes.
Yeah?
100%. Yes, yes, yes. And with that said, they could even kind of riff off what they have in Disneyland Paris and put the tunnel with the dragon under Maleficent's castle.
I just got goosebumps. Yes. How cool. Oh my gosh. I think that would be a really good idea. Super, like, because kind of opposite of Cinderella's castle. We have, like, the
bright
light.
And shiny and sparkly.
Yes.
And then welcome.
Yes, yes.
You'd have to be careful, I think, to make sure that wasn't viewable from other parts of the park.
Look what they did with Beast Castle, though. That'd be our guess.
Yeah.
You can't really see that.
Because it's hidden behind Cinderella's castle.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
They can make it happen. And put up scramble or whatever they need to do, or build it back far enough so that it's...
And maybe down below the utilidors. So you'd actually have to go down into the land.
You couldn't go below the utilidors because that's sea level.
Well, at utilidor
yes.
height.
Yes.
So instead of having tunnels underneath it, you would just be down on basically ground level.
That kind of destroy walls thing, but I get what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
I don't disagree with you, but the utilidors serve a purpose.
Right. And they could do it where you could get to the utilidors from a building facade or something like that. There just wouldn't be necessarily tunnels underneath. Because my guess is they won't expand the utilidors as part of any kind of expansion like that. That would be spendy.
This is Disney we're talking about. They like to spend money.
True.
Very true.
So what other castles could it be? Like, I'm trying to think Yzma's castle. No, Yzma didn't have a castle. She just had the dungeon.
She lived in
Cusco's castle.
Palace.
Yeah, so she did, like, change the theme up to her face.
Yes.
And
Be terrifying.
yeah.
It would be
yeah.
scary beyond all reason.
There we go.
Is that my voice?
I mean, I think that Emperor's New Groove needs some representation in the park somewhere. And if it's through Yzma, that, I mean, that's when, yes, Scott, was that where you were getting? You go ahead then.
Wrong lever! And at the end of the ride, they could just have Yzma come on and say, why do we even have that lever?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh.
It could be a roller coaster. It could be a water ride. It could be
yes.
any number of things. It could be a mix between...
Turny water ride, dark ride thing.
Yes. How awesome. So, yes to the Maleficent castle. And then Yzma and Kronk have their own ride and area of the park.
Like just a ride.
Yeah.
Like, how would you set that up if you were going to do a villain's land? Would each of the villains that you're representing have like a separate, distinct like land of their own?
I would almost think they would have to because you can't cross stories.
Yeah.
So it would almost be like Maleficent's castle in the hub. There would be basically another hub for Magic Kingdom. Her castle in the hub, and then each spoke would be a different villain's land.
Because with, we have like Ariel's Grotto, right? We have the ride, you get to meet Ariel, and then don't they have some sort of food place too to go along with that?
There's like a food stand.
Yeah.
But that's still part of Fantasyland.
Right. There's just not room in Fantasyland.
Yeah, but what I'm thinking is like you have your ride section. Yzma and Kronk's wrong lever ride, whatever they end up calling it, would just be its own facade. And then you'd walk down a little bit and you'd be in a new facade. It wouldn't necessarily have to be like a land that you would have to theme out with a restaurant.
It would be super immersive and really cool.
It would be.
Like a bar with, like, they serve everything in, like, test tubes and stuff since they have all
With
their
the little
poisons.
labels on it.
Yes. Cusco's poison.
The poison for Cusco.
Poison specifically Chipisticula Cusco.
That poison? Yeah, no.
And that's how it could be listed out on the menu, and you have to call it that when you order.
Love it. Love it.
And you can't just go this one and point. Unless you do the Disney point. And then all bets are off. You can get whatever you want.
Yes.
What is that?
Two
fingers or a whole hand.
Is that like used by the cast members?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And so the official story is that you point with your whole hand or with 2 fingers because pointing at someone can be seen as rude. So if you're like pointing to a ride and you do that, somebody could mistake that as being pointed at. But if you do that, it's very clearly that you're gesturing to someone. Mm-hmm. Now, we're an educational podcast. We can talk about these things too. So one of the working theories is that became the way to point because when Walt would be asked where things were going in the park, he always had a cigarette between 2 fingers and he would point.
Oh,
Okay.
So, but it became what it is today because it is like you don't want somebody to be mistaken for being pointed at. But there's some urban legend that it's Walt. And like you look at pictures of Walt now, for the most part, they've photoshopped out the cigarettes, but you can usually tell because he's standing there like this.
Okay.
And when I say this, I have 2 fingers together, like I'm holding a cigarette. It's right.
Right over there.
So yeah, your little education for tonight.
That's neat.
It's not besmirching Walt in any way.
It is not. However it started is what it became.
Mm-hmm.
And
then,
what it is now.
was popular.
it
And
was.
he did it a lot. He killed him.
Yeah.
Walter.
Don't smoke, folks.
Walter Elias.
Disney.
Candace just middle named him.
Yeah.
I didn't. You did.
You were thinking it though.
I'm
Maybe.
neither going to confirm nor deny that.
Okay, so you said what would go underneath the castle?
The dragon lair from
So
Disneyland Paris.
How does that work? Is it a walk-through attraction, a ride-through? What does
It's
it
a
look
walkthrough.
like?
So, like, you just kind of weave around, and then, like, the dragon is there. And she's not, like, breathing fire or anything like that, but she's there.
Okay.
Eyes glow, or is it just like a statue?
No, eyes glow, she moves.
Like steam?
Yeah,
Okay.
Something not
yes.
hot.
right. It could even be like a mist situation.
Like a green.
Oh.
Cool you off a little bit.
Yeah, I'm seeing pictures of it. And it reminds me of like, because it's is it a water ride down there?
Mm-mm.
No.
It's just a walkthrough.
Just a walk
From my
through.
understanding.
Okay. It's giving me.
It's kind of cave-like.
Yeah.
Okay.
Navi River Journey vibes where
Little
it's
bit,
like
yeah.
Oh, okay.
underneath there. I like it. I like it.
But it just kind of needs to be a part of the whole castle.
Yeah.
Do you put a restaurant in her castle?
No. Do we not see how skinny Maleficent is? I don't think she ever ate. She was too busy being evil.
Yeah. So she's got a point there.
So do you put a ride other than the walkthrough of the dragon's lair underneath?
No.
So it's just there to look at.
Yep.
Okay.
Like Cinderella's castle, you can walk through it, but
I mean, Cinderella's
There's-
royal table is there.
okay, you got a point there. That's true.
But she wouldn't want people in her castle
Yeah.
other than in a dungeon situation. And that's not happy for the happiest place on earth. So, no.
Okay. I'm just asking.
And it's Villain's Land.
Unless
So,
the dungeon was like a bar. Like an adults only
yeah.
bar.
I like
Hey, just for your children.
if they're naughty, they go in the dungeon.
Like
They go in the dungeon and you can go upstairs and drink.
Yeah.
Have a meet and greet with the queen herself and get a
Oh,
drink.
that would be cool if the meet and greet was her on her throne.
Yes.
How cool would that be?
Mm-hmm.
I keep going back to your idea with the different spokes and not like crossing stories. how cool would it be to just be walking around Villains Land and just being able to walk with any of the villains that happen to be out and around?
Kind of like they do in Disneyland.
Yeah.
I get it, but at the same time, like, Disney World has kind of established itself that you don't talk to the characters about other characters that aren't in their story.
Right.
Because they don't know. Because it's not their story. So if you break that pattern, tradition, whatever you want to call it, in Villains Land, do you have to do that for the rest of the park?
Yeah, but you can talk to the princesses about other princesses. Like, we've seen that on videos. Like, when they're in Cinderella's royal table, we've seen, like,
Well,
if you
they're
could
there
wear...
together, but
right.
you couldn't ask Aurora about Prince Charming.
Right. You can ask them about people they interact with as part of that experience.
Right.
Like, if you had to choose another dress beside your own, what other princess would you wear?
Right. But you wouldn't ask Jasmine about Ursula because that's just not...
Right. Not in her universe.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of which, Ursula, I know Ariel is already represented, and I would like to go the route of villains from movies that aren't represented in Magic Kingdom, Disney World. I think that would be fun.
Okay, I just have the Under the Sea ride in Villains Land. Make it almost an exact carbon copy, but tell it from Ursula's perspective.
Ooh,
that would
have
be
it
cool.
dark and like the whole unfortunate souls like kind of creeping out everywhere.
Like when she's singing the Poor Unfortunate Souls song, have that be the bright sunshiny, like, I'm doing all the right
Like,
things
that's her
here.
joy.
Yeah, this is where I'm at. Like, it gets dark, like all the light places are dark and all the dark places are light.
And all where it shows like the calm sea and the bubbles. It's like rough sea and stormy. And
right. The story ends, instead of the story ending with Prince Eric and Ariel getting married in the rowboat or whatever at the end. It stops at Ursula's wedding to Prince Eric. Boom. That's the end of the ride. This is where the story ends. It doesn't go any further than that.
Mm-hmm. I like it.
Mm-hmm.
Just draw that connection between the two attractions.
Yeah.
And maybe in the beginning of the ride, you could have, like, rather than just going into a tunnel, you could go into that mouth of the sea creature that's her castle.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And, sorry, I lost my voice. I was getting too excited. I think it would be cool to have a drop, like in Pirates. You know,
A terrifying death
yeah,
drop.
Yeah, just like
All
a little
15 feet of
Yeah,
it.
all 15 feet of the terrifying
It's
death
scary
drop
because it's in the dark,
that they don't even have to
Yes.
strap you in for.
but you have to hold on.
You do. I don't
Okay.
want to know what happens if you don't.
I never will.
Oh, we know.
Y'all
We
can
know
live on the
Candace.
edge, but
We know Candace.
I have tested it. I came out alive on the other side.
I'm so glad to hear that.
Yeah.
no, you've got a big problem.
Okay, so I like the idea of Ursula's ride. That's probably too much overkill, but you could almost do the exact opposite. Villains Land could have the inverse of, like, there could be a Hook ride that's flying over.
Not another one of those.
No.
Please.
Not another one of
Not the
those
Peter
rides.
Pan ride.
You didn't like the Peter Pan ride?
No.
I love that ride, but
It was-
I may have to. Well, no, I don't really like that ride either, except for one part. But I almost feel like I have to vote you off the island for just saying that you don't like it at all.
yeah, bye.
It's okay.
Well, it wasn't my favorite. I would ride it again if the line wasn't that long.
For nostalgia, if nothing else.
Yeah.
We do
It
not.
kind of scared me.
I'm
It was
gonna-
hovering and then it's like jerking. It was like,
I'm gonna
What
judge
were you doing in your pirate ship?
I'm gonna judge you based on your answer to this question, though.
Thank you, Scott.
What was your favorite part of the Peter Pan attraction?
If it's not flying over London, you have serious issues.
I did like that part. I think that's the only part I remember.
That's the best part of the ride.
okay. Yeah. I'd
I
have
also
to ride
like
it
the
again.
Easter egg of Ariel
Yes.
Yes.
in the Mermaid Lagoon.
Yes. However, do not ever complain about waiting in line.
I'm not. I'm just.
Scott and I stood in the sun for hours.
Okay, but nobody made y'all do that.
No.
I sat and had a lovely time having a frozen lemonade from the Friar's Nook and watching the stepmother and stepsisters from Cinderella go to their meet and greet spot while they were in line.
I think about halfway through, I think we both realized this was a bad idea, but we were too committed.
Yeah, we were way too committed at that point.
Yep.
Yeah, if y'all would have come back to me and said, no, we didn't write it, we waited in line too long, I would have been like, go back. You're doing it.
Okay, let's go back to Villain's Land now that we're done chastising Mariah.
Almost done.
Your opinion is valuable and honored.
Unless it's wrong. Okay, Villain's Land.
Yes.
So we have our Park Weenie with an attraction underneath it. We have the Ursula ride.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked a little bit about a bar potentially in the castle.
Yzma.
We've talked about Yzma and Kronk's. What kind, like, would that be a roller coaster with a splash? I'm thinking the Incredicoaster in Disneyland, that it's just a fast-moving roller coaster, but at the end it kind of comes down and they shoot water up. Mm-hmm. So instead of making it another log flume water type ride, do you do a roller coaster that can be all twisty-turny and just have water be elements of it?
You would have to decide if you wanted to tell a story with it or if you just wanted to ride. Because if you're flying around and you're trying to have things to look at, you're going to make people really sick.
Right. Does the story come before the ride? Or does the story come during the ride?
Like maybe it's part of a dark ride situation where you've got the slow-moving dark ride to tell the story in the beginning. And then somehow you end up at the top of a hill. And then the coaster starts from there.
Like Mine Train type of feel.
Something
or
like that, yeah.
Test Track type of feel.
Yes.
Only well done.
We just said that.
Because they do like to reuse ride systems.
They do.
Yeah. I mean, I think for that one, if they ever do like an Yzma Kronk ride,
which they should.
Mm-hmm. I think they need to do the carts exact same way. Like, I want to be totally immersed. I want to ride that ride. I think they should completely pull that, like, do the story in the beginning, like Haunted Mansion almost, to where, like, you're kind of immersed, maybe walking through Yzma's castle when, you know, she turns it in her castle, and then you hop in the ride.
Go ahead.
No, I'm done. Tell me.
Okay, so, you know, in Emperor's New Groove, when they are going on their journey to get back to the castle from Pacha's village.
Yes.
And they do the maps with the little paths.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. That could be the ride, and then you end up and you do the wrong lever at the end.
Yes.
And do the whole
like a roller coaster bit, and then
the battle with Yzma and Kronk, and then you end up at the, because you got to put the "Is that my voice" in there. You just have to.
The little cat sitting there.
Yeah.
Well,
or that could be the end of it.
Again, Villain's Land. Is the villain gonna lose in Villain's Land?
Or maybe you just end it with wrong lever.
Yeah.
And then you go splush, and that's the end of it.
The end of the ride is Yzma looking at you or looking at Kronk or whatever saying, why do we even have that lever?
And that's the end.
Yes.
Because I don't see the villains losing in Villain's Land.
No, they can't.
No.
Right.
Mm-mm.
No.
So if you make her the cute little kitty that's my voice, that's her losing.
Right. So it would have to be, why do we even have that lever? And end.
I love that. Then in the gift shop, there's a cat of her, and when you push it, it says that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could buy, like, things that indicate the villain loses in the gift shop, but, like, any of the attractions, the villains walk out of there the winner.
Yes.
We need a stuffed animal in the gift shop, though, that says, I've been turned into a cow. Can I go home?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
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 And then there can be an exit sign for people who are too scared, and then when she says anybody else.
Oh my god, that would be hilarious right at the beginning. Like, as you're walking the walking part of the queue, it could be the chicken exit. Yzma could be like, does anybody want to get out of line now?
Or, like, part of the story could be that you're some of her hench persons.
Yes.
That are going after Kuzco and Pacha. and you get turned into an animal, like a different animal, like her guards did. And then, I've been turned into a cow. Can I go home, please? And then, right before the chicken exit, she'd be like, yes, you may. Anyone else?
Yes.
And the music that has to play during the ride is Kronk's theme song.
Yes! His soundtrack?
Yes.
You could almost do that right, like, before a first drop.
Yes.
Before a first drop in whatever kind of roller coaster, it could be... And then, like, as you're climbing to the drop, you and then somebody saying, Kuzco's voice echoing, he even has his own sound, his own theme song.
He's a big dumb animal.
What is that? He has his own theme song?
Like, bring in elements from the good guys, in air quotes, like that to further the story along. Because I think the story is always told from the point of the villain.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. This is, yeah. Now we're cooking.
Yeah. Just took a while.
Yeah.
Warmed up.
What other villains would we want to see represented?
Dr. Facilier.
1000%.
And have that. I know Maleficent she's the mistress of all evil. I think anything involving Dr. Facilier, just because of the gravity of voodoo,
Mm-hmm.
and it's tied to black magic and that sort of thing, is going to be the scary
Yes.
part of the park.
Yeah, I think the whole villains thing, if you're going to do it right, it's almost got to be, almost feel scary.
Right, but there's scary and then there's scary.
Right.
Like, there's scary because, oh, this is dark and I don't know what's going on and this is weird. And then there's the voodoo side of things.
Mm-hmm.
And friends on the other side, but you're not really sure where the other side is.
And again, I like the idea of bars with potions.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even if there's not a ride around Dr. Facilier, just because Tiana just got one, have a really good bar
Yeah.
or a
Could make it
restaurant.
like Bourbon Street.
Bourbon Street on Mardi Gras. It's just super small place with lots of people.
That's scary.
Yeah. 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 That's terrifying.
Where you
Yeah.
could even carry your drink around
Yeah.
with friends on the other side, just kind of playing in the background.
I
Or
do
like-
love that.
Like a voodoo shop sort of situation.
Yeah.
And they have history of doing scary shopping outside a Haunted Mansion. You can buy scary things,
Yeah.
occult kind of things
Memento Mori.
Mm.
in Magic Kingdom already. So there's already a history for being able to buy that kind of thing, and there's an audience for it.
Right. And if it's done well, people will buy it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that would be... I don't think he necessarily needs a ride. I think having just a more immersive walk through, like you're in his world.
And somehow it would have the lighting in it would have to be so that you can see for safety reasons. But I almost want them to do something with shadows. Since he's the shadow
Yes.
man, you could just have like shadows just like, and you don't know where they're coming from because there's nobody to cast a shadow where you're seeing a shadow.
That would be so cool.
Mm-hmm.
Help me solve a logistical problem with...
There needs to be a beignet stand.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
There's already going to be one by Tiana. Do they need another
you're right.
one?
Well,
Well, we need...
boozy beignets.
Ooh.
There you go.
See? Look at that.
So I have a logistical question about Villain's Land.
Yes.
Everything we're talking about is kind of dark, is kind of ominous.
How do we deal with that in 500-degree Florida sunshine?
Exactly. What do you do? Because not everything can be an inside ride.
No.
But maybe it can. Maybe
Well,
everything
but
there is inside.
Disney is under a bubble and they control their own weather. Didn't you know that?
But when it's 187 degrees, the sun is shining at noon, how do you make Villain's Land still feel like Villain's Land?
I know. Have it a permanent after hours situation.
Oh, so it only opens at night?
Yeah.
That would be cool.
Make it feel very exclusive.
Yep.
And as 4 adults without kids, it would make a lot less kids.
Yep.
That would be cool. I mean,
because if you did it right, you wouldn't necessarily want little kids back there anyway, just because of the whole villains.
Right, they'd be scared.
yeah.
The whole thing.
And then maybe during Halloween they could open it up a little bit
Make
more.
it part of the party.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
If you wanted to not have the villains have their own parts of the land, what kind of a ride would you do that would incorporate multiple villains that would make sense? Remember the book
I
we
know.
read?
I know. The only thing I'm thinking is Phantasmic does involve multiple villains into the story because Mickey's dreaming about them and dreaming about beating them. So if you could somehow theme a ride kind of that way, where not one of the princes or princesses or heroes or heroines involved in that story, so they don't have to take on their specific villain and have it like Mickey or Minnie or whatever.
Turn Phantasmic into a ride.
There is a show that used to play on Disney Channel called Mickey, oh my goodness, Mickey's House Mouse Villains, where it was like, do you remember that show?
Mm-mm.
It was like some late night dinner show that
Like
all
the
of the
Christmas
villains.
movie. We have House of Mouse Christmas.
Okay, yeah, and
And
it's
it's
like
like
all
everybody.
villains. Okay.
It's horribly done. Horribly done.
Oh, so
But-
was the show.
Yeah.
But it was like one of those so bad that it's good.
There's nostalgia to it.
Exactly.
So in the parks, I think you can take some liberties with bringing people together. Is like, to your point though, you don't want to bring them together in such a way that they would be in their own universe and other people are visiting their universe. But if you pull all the villains out of their individual universe and put them somewhere completely different, that could work.
Like a restaurant, just like how they do with...
Like a character dining.
Yeah.
Yes.
With all of them.
Yes.
But you could do, what kind of a ride would you do, and what kind of a story could you tell with the villains? Again, with the villains being the central characters walking away the winners. Or the story stopping before they become the losers.
Right. But are they going to want to work together? Because that's kind of a nice thing to do.
That could be part of the story.
Okay.
Maybe villains fighting each other. Jafar fighting
Cage
Dr.
match.
Dr. Vasilier.
Of course cage matches work. If it didn't, no one would come out of the cage.
Thank you, Michael Scott. I don't know. I don't think I like that. And not that they couldn't do it, but it doesn't work in my wheelhouse.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do, is wrap my head around how that could work.
I think that would almost seem like contrived and overdone.
I just think they're going to be limited on space.
Yes.
Because what you're talking about is another entire Magic Kingdom.
I don't see a problem with that other than space, but
Like, the swamp that's next door might have something to say about
hey,
that.
that would be perfect though.
Perhaps.
You would have to fight the alligators to get on the ride.
No.
Do the frog thing over there.
Real. Live action.
Yeah, give a nod to Walt's live action movies,
There we
the
go.
nature series.
Okay. What other villains? I'm trying to... I'm having trouble
know.
remembering all the villains.
I have an idea.
Okay.
We are excluding Hades. And
Oh.
we have a water ride with his souls.
Oh yes.
Okay.
That's it.
Hercules is kind of making a comeback again.
Yes.
Like it's picking up popularity again. That's a good idea.
Mhm.
Hades would be a great one. And you know, also, if we wanted to combine, Hades is, Hades, king of the underworld. If anybody's gonna work
He's
with...
the god of the underworld. Don't. He's not.
I'm sorry. I really messed up. I'm canceled. But I feel like other villains would work with Hades since he's god of the underworld, right?
Facilier's got friends
That's
on the other side.
which that is the other side.
Right?
And I'm trying to think.
Ursula deals in souls.
Yeah.
People sell their souls to her.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you start talking about, you wouldn't want to name it Soul just because I think that would bring bad juju because of the movie. But
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, that's how you could bring villains together. Hades is out there looking for souls, and the other villains are out trying to collect souls.
Mm-hmm.
That could be a fun ride. And then it doesn't have to have a point.
But it always does.
Right, but it does, like, what I'm saying is, like, with that, it's a Ursula wins Ariel's soul. Ray gets stomped on. Those things that are the bad things that the villains in the movies would be like, okay, that is what it is. That's what we wanted to have happen. Those are all the things that become front and center.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
Okay, along this whole thing with the souls and the collecting thereof,
Yes.
we have to represent Chernobog,
Who?
the demon at the end of Fantasia.
Oh.
From Night on Bald Mountain. Have you not seen that?
It's been years.
Watch it's the end of Fantasia. It's the end animation series of Fantasia.
Okay.
And he's this big, like, devil-looking demon thing that comes out of the top of the mountain on Halloween. He spreads his hands and, like, all the dead souls come up out of the cemetery and they're all dancing and around the fire and everything like that. So it's very clear where they're from. But we have to have him someplace. If we're doing this, we have to have him someplace.
That sounds awesome. I'm going to have to go and watch.
Yeah.
That ties it to the past, too.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. Yeah.
That's him.
This dude?
Yeah.
Oh, he looks creepy.
He is creepy. He's got big old long nails and he's a manicure in the very worst of ways.
And apparently he is considered a villain because he's on a picture of Disney villains that Lacey's looking at.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he's certainly not nice.
No, he looks the scariest out of all of them. Because then we have our silly villains too, right? We have,
The Queen of Hearts.
Queen of Hearts, Gaston is a silly.
Yeah.
Well, we have Gaston's Tavern.
I know. I'm just going
shouldn't
through.
let more than that go to his head.
And then we have, like, the dude from, or even Hook is kind of a goofier villain.
Does TikTok Croc need his own?
No.
No.
Maybe that could be the park weenie.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
No.
There's Syndrome.
Syndrome.
Syndrome from
Incredibles.
That would be a pretty cool little area. I mean, definitely a different vibe from everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of more on, because Yzma is also kind of a goofier one, but she has such a big role in Emperor's New Groove.
Huge. It would not be a story without her.
No.
No. With this in mind,
Yeah.
now that you brought that up, and we're talking about, like, how we would kind of make the park dark and that kind of thing and kind of scary.
Mm-hmm.
What if we had one section of it be, like, the goofier villains, where you could have them there in the daytime?
That would be cool.
And then after hours and after dark, that's when the real villains come out.
Or, like, the darker villains are the inside areas, and some of the one, like Yzma, Queen of Hearts, Gaston, all interacted with people when it was bright out.
Right.
Those that you never see interact with people when it's bright out, put their attractions and their things inside. Into show buildings that way. I do too.
Yeah.
But Disney's
for
not going to.
capacity.
Yeah, Disney's not going to do something to.
You have to have everything.
Part of the reason of doing that is to let more people come through the gate
I understand.
and spread them out further.
Doesn't mean I agree. But I'm not an Imagineer.
You could be if you applied to be one,
No, because we don't live in Florida
or
or
California.
California.
Okay, we still have Scar and we have Jafar for two. Jafar, yeah, he always gave me the ick.
Yeah, he's
a big
icky.
ick.
I don't think.
For a number of reasons.
Yeah. Scar would be. Oh, okay.
What?
Oh.
I'm just looking at a list of villains, and I just had a great restaurant idea for somewhere in Villains Land.
Okay.
Okay.
Chef Skinner's.
Yes.
He's
The
the
chef from
bad guy from
Ratatouille.
Ratatouille.
The little short guy. It could be like a food court and have all his different frozen stuff all over.
Oh,
Boom.
yes.
Boom.
Oh, yes.
Led by a hand of a booth of the corn puppies.
Yes.
Oh my
Because Americans
gosh.
will eat anything. And it could be the little corn dog
Nuggets
nuggets
from Casey's Corner.
same food. They don't even have to invent a new food for it.
I love that
Because
idea.
then they could move they wouldn't move it. They could just duplicate the spring roll cart because he had egg rolls as one of those. And there was like chicken strips. So it could be like a quick service food court kind
Yeah.
of thing with all of that stuff.
I love that.
At Halloween, they could
Brilliant.
In Halloween, they could have the Sanderson sisters walking around.
Yes.
Okay, they need to have their little witch's hut in there.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Just even if it's just like gift shop, I think that would be so cool.
Like the museum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm taking issue with Wikipedia right now.
Well, Wikipedia is great. You can put anybody can say anything about anything, so you know you're getting the best information available.
Love all the Michael Scott quotes today. We are full of them.
Yep. The reason I'm not, Wikipedia is upsetting me tonight is Yzma and Kronk are listed as minor villains.
Excuse, who wrote that crap?
Because they appeared in the franchise
Michael
less
Scott.
frequently.
Well, you know.
They're main characters.
Yeah.
They have half of the movie.
I
There is
almost
no
want
story
to-
without them.
Yeah.
None.
I almost want to become a
No, you don't.
Wikipedia editor just so I can go in and correct that. Because whoever wrote this is dumb.
Because if you think about it, who would be the villain
you
in that
edit it
story
right now?
without
I
them?
think so.
You should.
No one. Well,
They are the villains in that story.
he wouldn't
Yeah.
even be turned to a llama if it weren't for them.
Right.
There would
Right.
be no story.
Stupid Wikipedia.
Yeah.
So, could you also say that Cusco is one of the villains, too?
in the beginning, yes.
Yeah.
yeah.
But
He saw the light at the end.
he did.
Yzma, unfortunately, did not. She saw the dark.
That's right. That's okay.
Yeah.
And figured out they had the wrong lever.
I just thought of a cool ride, too. Randall from Monsters Incorporated. And you're going through the doors, kind of chasing Sully. Going through all the doors in all the houses across the world.
Speaking of rides that they could reuse the Peter Pan ride system for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You could be
Okay.
The
that whole
doors
chase happening through
Yes.
the doors. You could almost be riding a door. The imagery around it could be that entire chase
Yeah.
through that. Because again, I keep going back to, you don't want to have the good guys win. That is actually a scene where the bad guy wins that scene.
Mm-hmm.
I like it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I just think Monsters Incorporated is not very represented in the park at all. And it's such a fabulous movie.
And Randall's a pretty obscure villain,
yeah.
but he plays a big part in the whole thing. I mean, again, there wouldn't be much of a story without him.
Exactly. And I think that's the whole point of the Villains Land, is that without these villains, the stories would be non-existent.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. I don't know. That could be another lighter
Mm-hmm.
ride for kids to enjoy.
Yep. And I had a thought of another one of those kind of light attractions that you could use that is not represented in the parks today at all. Robin Hood. Sir Hiss, the sheriff of Nottingham. Like, that could almost be like a teacups type attraction
Yeah.
that you could do with that group of villains.
Mm-hmm.
Or just, you wouldn't even really have to develop a story there. Just have the characters there.
Yeah.
And then you could be spinning around in something and then have Oodalolly
Yeah.
Yeah.
play. I like it.
Yeah, because not every ride has to be like some immersive, super immersive. It could just be themed well.
Yeah. You think about Magic Kingdom as it is today, You have things that don't really tell a story. Y'all's favorite ride, Astro Orbiter. It's themed well-ish.
Is it?
You have teacups. You know that's part of whatever, Alice in Wonderland. But it's still just kind of sitting there on its own.
Mm-hmm.
It's not part of a land. It's just a ride. An attraction. Sorry, Marty, I'm trying to get better about that. So in the book club book, did we mention this in the book club episode? I'm trying to remember. I don't think we did. So in the book club book that we read for last quarter, which was Marty Sklar's story of Walt Disney Imagineering, one of the things that he pointed out multiple times is Disney doesn't do rides. They do attractions. Because Walt overheard people walking through Disneyland saying, I want to go on all these new attractions. I don't want to go on any rides. I can get on a ride at any amusement park.
Six Flags.
But what set Disney apart was the fact that the attractions were so well themed that they didn't feel like a ride you could get on anywhere else. Disney needs to remember that and make sure they're going back to that, because more and more people are figuring out that theming is key. Mm-hmm. And if they're not careful, others are going to catch up. Speaking of villain origin stories, like you think about what Universal has been able to do with the Harry Potter land. That's the only part of that park that's that immersive and that themed, but it's on Disney's level.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They're building an entirely new Super Nintendo land, or whatever it is.
Mario Land.
That's going to be super immersive. Disney, people are catching up, so Disney's got to figure out how to innovate. And a villain's land like this might be the way to do it.
And I'm going to say it, and it might be an unpopular opinion or a hot take, as the young people are calling it these days.
Are they?
I don't know.
We are.
Okay.
10 years ago, whatever. They need to knock it off with the screens.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
I know that makes it easier for rides attractions to update and all of this. But they need to get back to what made Disney Disney.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Which is storytelling.
Right.
Immersive storytelling. And that's
storytelling, and sitting on your butt looking at a screen is not immersive.
No.
If those characters aren't coming to life, no.
Yeah, you can do some screen rides as long as you do them well. Soren.
I think going back to Walt, he started with the Alice comedies, which was a live little girl interacting with cartoons. They could very easily do animatronic figures interacting with a cartoon background.
That sounds cool.
Because they could still update the backgrounds as they need to.
Yeah.
And then just make minor tweaks to the animatronics.
I'm actually hoping, this is going completely off topic, but
going.
I'm hoping they're going to do exactly what you were talking about with Tiana's Bayou Adventure. Because they're talking about, instead of screens, they're going to deploy mist that you can display things on. So we're thinking like the Fireflies, because that also gives you the ability to project depth. Mm-hmm. So like that's the kind of innovation that Disney needs to do.
Right.
If they're going to use screens, find innovative ways to do it.
But they're not doing it right now. They're relying too much on the trackless ride system and screens.
Yeah.
And that might be the cool new thing right now, but it's going to go away really quick.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's not innovative. Anybody can do it.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
What else about Villain's Land? We keep venturing ourselves out of Villain's Land, so I keep trying to drag us back in there.
Well, I have a couple ideas for villains, but I feel like they would work well in other parks in Disney World. And how would we feel about a villain's land in each of the parks? But if villains were just a little bit more
represented.
Yeah. Like in Toy Story Land, we have Sid.
Yep.
Or even Lotso, maybe, but I think Sid would be kind of creepy. And then you mentioned Scar, Loraya. I think Scar would do so well in Animal Kingdom. Having his own little area where it's just green lights and like... Yeah, and just kind of like bones of animal remains.
They could do the
everywhere.
elephant graveyard.
Yes, yes. Just like
And just have them
something.
hanging out there and
Yeah. Just something
would be
creepy.
amazing.
It doesn't even need to be a ride or anything. It could just be a little area where it just, they're represented in there.
where the IP makes sense.
Yes.
Imagine!
I know. What a thought. Because I'm trying to think of other villains. We have the evil queen from Snow White.
She is represented a tiny, tiny bit on Mine Train.
Yes.
But does she need more? Because she kind of kicked this whole thing off.
She really did.
And she is evil.
yeah. She scared me when I was
She-
little.
She's still scary.
The old
The old hag.
hag part. Yeah.
Okay, so where Seven Dwarfs Mine Train sits right now in Disney World. There used to be a ride there called Snow White's Scary Adventures. That ride actually still exists in Disneyland.
Really? Okay.
But when you're climbing the first hill in Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, and you see the vultures sitting on top of the crossbar thing,
Yes.
those were in the ride.
Oh.
So that's the throwback to that.
I love that.
Yeah. But there was part of that ride, it was a dark ride. So you got in this little, it looked kind of like the Seven Dwarfs bed with the wood carvings. And that's what the vehicles were shaped like. So you got into them and you just kind of rolled up on the different scenes in the movie. And there was a part where the Wicked Queen was standing as the Wicked Queen in front of the magic mirror. And as you rolled up, she turned around and she was the evil hag.
Oh my god.
And you got like she was like right here.
Oh my
It
god.
was scary.
That
Terrified
sounds
my nephew.
terrifying. Yeah.
Terrified my nephew. He was ruined for rides the entire rest of the time, and that was like one of our first rides. So it was a long trip. But
Oh wow.
anyway, yes. I mean, that was really cool technology.
Yeah.
Because she was showing us the reflection of the evil queen. And then she turned and
That's cool.
Do you want me to give you a reason to buy into Disney Vacation Club
yes,
that's episode relevant?
of course.
The old Top of the World restaurant?
Which is now California Grill.
Maybe? That's not what I'm reading. I think it's somewhere different. But anyway, no, maybe it is. Top of the World Lounge located at Disney's Contemporary Resort. Last year, so I think there's another lounge up there, though. It's not
off to
California
It's
Grill.
off to the end. It's like
It is now a Disney Vacation Club exclusive Villain's Lair lounge.
yeah, they started that last year.
So you can go up there to meet the villains. You have it's open from 6 p.m. till midnight. You can get in for $55. And you can view the Disney Enchantment fireworks, or whatever the current fireworks show is, up there, and interact with villains. More of that would be kind of cool, too, in ways to interact with villains around Disney World.
I still don't know that convinces me that Disney Vacation Club is a good thing, but
It's probably not. I'm not a big fan of timeshares, and Disney Vacation Club is a timeshare.
but anyway, moving on.
That's a different episode.
I think something in the villain's land that they need to really work with is the color, that lime green color. Somehow it needs to be very prominent in the parks. And I'm trying to think of how they could do it.
I have an idea.
Oh.
You know how in Pandora, how like the sidewalk glows? The sidewalk could be like cracked with like the green glow coming like out of it.
Look at you being all brilliant.
Look at you.
Love it.
I do like that.
And you can have like mist coming up.
I was going to say like some fog elements.
And it could be cool mist, so it wouldn't like burn anybody. It would be completely safe.
And it would help keep
Yeah.
it cooler during the day, too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like a permanent cool mist coming up from the
As
ground.
long as it didn't make it slick, but I mean,
Right.
you could.
Yeah.
I was just thinking, like you said it, you didn't want it to be like hot mist, so it didn't burn anybody. I was thinking of those things in The Lion King with, what are they called? Yeah,
Oh gosh.
what are they called? It's like
Geysers?
Yes, a geyser filled with like steaming water, and they just have them, and you have to try to obstacle course it where you're like,
Instead of
if
jumping
you're
fountains
too
up.
weak- yeah.
Don't
It's
get
steam.
burned by the...
What'd you do at Disney World this trip? I got a 3rd-degree burn.
From some steam. Oh, went to Villain's Land, did you? That's your good.
Yeah, and I wore a dress, so it doesn't...
Yee. Goodness.
Speaking of Star Wars.
Whatever you're into, Lacey. Whatever you're into.
No.
You do on your time.
No. I just think that would be really
That's-
cool, though.
yeah.
Yeah.
Good idea.
I like that.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have the Park Weenie as Maleficent's castle and the whole dragon lair underneath, you could actually have that be the start of the green
Yes.
because of her eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because they use that color green in a lot of different ways
And it
throughout
usually
all the different
represents
movies.
evil.
And yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So what sound would play? Because I also have another idea.
Okay.
Do share.
Yeah.
You could hear Maleficent's dragon growling sometimes.
Oh,
Or
yeah.
like Jafar's snake hissing.
No.
Pass.
I like the dragon.
Okay, only if we
even
can hear gators go
the-
click click.
Or
Yeah.
the tick of
The
the
tick-tock.
Mm-hmm.
No, that... Yeah.
What?
Yeah. If you want to have your snakes, then we're going to have our gators.
Yes. I said we
Then let's just have live gators just walking around, like Nero and Brutus,
She can already
Brutus
meet
and
them
Nero.
in Animal
Brutus
Kingdom.
and Nero. Yeah.
Loria's personal villains.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
You are my
Villain's Land.
nemesis.
Next time we're there, she's just going to walk up to him and shake her fist.
I win.
So we agreed that Jafar doesn't need a spot in the villains because he's a really icky villain, gross. I don't like him. You know how some, like Maleficent, we love her. We love Yzma even though she's kind of crazy and evil.
That's why we love her.
Yeah. I think another villain that doesn't need any representation because I can't stand her is Mother Gothel.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But also,
And she would be a hard one to utilize anyway,
yeah.
because Disney's going to have trouble selling any kind of an attraction or establishment that is based around imprisoning someone, especially a woman.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
True, but unless you had something like the Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique, where you could change into a villain.
They
And
could
then
pump
you
you
could-
with Botox.
I was thinking rather than pixie dust, they could give you golden flower.
Oh,
sunflower. like
okay.
the Rapunzel flower.
Yes, yes.
I
But
think
she could be represented there.
how many parents or even how many little kids would prefer to go to the evil version of Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique
Our
and
niece.
have
Yeah.
little kids come out dressed as the evil queen?
A tiny little Maleficent.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or tiny
Like-
little Yzma with the big...
Oh
I mean,
my
they'd
God.
have to be soft rubber so that if somebody ran into them, they wouldn't impale them. I impaled myself on a child.
But that would be so awesome because, like, you want to talk repeatability of coming into a park.
Yeah.
I want my little girl dressed up as Cinderella in front of this castle today. Tomorrow we're going to get a reservation at the evil one of these, and I want the evil queen picture in front of her castle.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
A tiny little facilier. Can you see it?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And it would be very inclusive because
Yes.
there's female villains and male villains.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see some little kid running out of there going, I have friends on the other side.
I gotta go find them.
A little Anastasia and Drizella.
Oh, with great big bows.
Yes. Yes.
And a shorter stepmother.
And then they could leave Villain's Land and go get their picture taken in front of the big castle.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
Okay, what about Cruella?
She might be more. We could do Mother Gothel and Cruella in that situation.
Yes. Like,
Because they're both kind of vain and they have like the whole.
yes.
Yeah.
Cruella's side is more of the fashion, and Mother Gothel is more of hair and makeup.
Right.
Looking young and beautiful. And
Right. And you can even have the magic mirror
Yes.
from Snow White as the final reveal.
So that's where we can kind of collab some of these, where they work together. Cruella.
And they've each got their own thing, so nobody steps on toes and
Exactly.
sensitive about things.
Exactly.
I like this.
Okay.
I like this.
Okay. We are an hour in to this conversation. I don't want to just put a kibosh to conversation, but anything else we want to make sure we talk about in this episode before I say this is long enough? We've talked a lot about people, and probably more than they could ever do, which is blue sky concept or ideas. We haven't really talked a lot about food.
Yeah. Should we do a part 2 of this episode?
We totally could. Is there enough food conversation there to support another full
Other
episode?
than Chef Skinner's.
Yeah,
which
we
I
talked
still
about
think is
that.
a brilliant idea. And maybe for that size of an area in the park, that's what you need, or that's all you need.
Right.
And then just have bars for the different.
Yeah. Quick services.
Like
or
you
little
could
snack
do,
carts.
Yeah.
you could
Yeah.
do one fancier sit down place. So if you were to pick a villain to host a sit down meal, whose meal would you want to go to?
Hades.
Tell me why.
To eat souls?
Yeah.
That's gross.
Of course.
Oh.
The only meal is soup
Well,
in 180 degrees.
Right.
yum. Let's get some soup.
The only thing you can get is clam chowder
Oh,
in 180-degree Florida heat.
Oh my god.
And all the seating is outside.
yeah. Drink
We'll
milk.
see. It's into the
Yeah, and it's very villain's land.
Perfect. Sign me up.
Oh dear.
Trying to think of who would be a good host for. It just popped into my head. The sit down place could be Kronk's.
Broccoli
yes.
puffs or spinach,
Spinach puffs.
Because he talks about dessert, he loves to cook.
I like that.
Yeah.
I also like the idea of maybe Ursula having like a sushi restaurant. I think that'd be hilarious.
Oh my god, that would be
The
funny.
chef guy, Philippe. No, Louis
Chef
Oh,
Louis.
yes.
from Little Mermaid.
Yeah.
He is Sebastian's villain.
Yes.
is, so-
Yes.
There we go.
I love that idea too. And it could serve fresh seafood. That could be its kind of hook.
Boom.
There it is.
I was gonna say the restaurant in Monsters Incorporated, but that doesn't belong in Villains
They
Land.
need to do that anyway.
Yeah, they need to just open that sushi restaurant from
Harryhausen.
Harryhausen's. Yeah. That would be so cool. They need to start doing that, opening up restaurants from the movies. Those are the kind of themed restaurants I want to go to.
If we're talking table service, you want it kind of fancy.
Mm-hmm.
You could call it Lady Tremaine's for Cinderella's stepmother.
Yes. I like that idea.
That would work. And it's just like a fancy, up to her standards type of.
Right, so everything is real tight-assed and
Yes.
grumpy.
Yes.
The Big Bad Wolf, where they serve nothing but pork.
It could be the barbecue place.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. That works out.
And the facade is all like straw.
And
So
then
it's
we
one of
could
the houses
have-
he blew down.
Oh.
And then we could have a plant-based restaurant where Willie, the giant, could be the host because he was up the beanstalk, like Mickey went up the beanstalk to find him.
Yes.
So he could be the host at the plant-based restaurant.
Yes. That would be cool. Yeah, because we need like those fun villains too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of obscure, but very
Mhm.
important.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pain and Panic. I don't know that I'd want to eat at a restaurant called Pain and Panic, but
Oh my
it'd be a good
gosh.
title. It'd be a good name for a restaurant in a villain's land.
Filet of soul, S-O-U-L.
Well, and I was even thinking I lost that idea until you said Pain and Panic actually. that having the little sidekicks of the villains be a little bit more...
Lucifer.
Yes.
You could call Lady Tremaine's Lucifer. That might be controversial.
Well, let's not.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But I think he could be represented.
Yeah.
It's just tough, though, because you don't really think of food when you think of villains. You know,
Right.
because you're just... Food is a happy thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For most people. And you don't think of having a great sit-down meal while you're trying to dodge Lady Tremaine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and maybe it doesn't need a sit-down place. Maybe Chef Skinner's food court is enough
That
because
is.
there's 6 or 7 different things. Go look at the movie. There's like 15 different posters of the different hand foods that you can get.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's all you need.
Yeah.
Yeah, just for like a land. We have a bar idea.
And
A
then just
restaurant idea.
Yeah, and food.
Several rides.
Yeah.
Attractions.
Sorry. Keep correcting me on that.
Yeah. I mean, there's also room for quick services or snack carts and stuff like that, too.
They could do a villain's Dole Whip.
Oh, like it's
a Malefic-
green?
Yeah, like the
Like lime?
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe purple, too.
Mm-hmm.
So, was that last year or the year before where they did the Ursula Dole Whip float? That was like purple, but it was like blackberry or something like that. And then they poured blue colored cherry Coke over it to make a float.
Oh, yum.
And it sounded okay, but the person that we watched review it said it was awful.
Oh.
But, I mean, there are other flavors that you could use
Yeah.
and tie that together.
Blackberries are pretty good. That would be good. For the float part, I would think
maybe
more
not
of like
Coke.
a cream, like coconut or like a...
Or even just Sprite.
Yeah. Although, I feel like with blackberry, though, it's such a tart fruit that it needs some sort of like...
Sweet.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe that, I mean, if it's in Villain's Land, do you really want something sweet?
That is true. That is true. Good point.
I always want something sweet. Okay, I think let's call this one. This was a great discussion. This one's fun. So again, let us know what you thought of this episode. If we missed a villain that you want to see represented, come out to Facebook or Instagram and let us know.
Or Reddit.
Or Reddit, thank you. Let us know what villain you think should be represented and how you would represent them in a villain's land. Josh Damaro, president of the Parks Division, if you're listening, we will work for just our podcast name listed somewhere in the land very prominently.
Very prominently.
So if you steal any of our ideas, feel free. Just give us credit for them.
Check and be nice. Annual passes.
Yeah. A great big check would be very nice as well. I would take a great big check probably before I would take just a plaque.
Yeah.
A giant.
But we can talk.
We can talk. We're willing to negotiate.
Giant check it is.
Okay. And remember, as they say in the Carousel of Progress, there is a great, big, beautiful tomorrow.
And we'll see you real soon.